War kills in many ways: bullets, bombs, starvation. But sometimes it waits. It waits in the dark, in the quiet places where no one should be. And when it finally takes you, you'll wish it had been a bullet. The year was 1945. The war was dying, but it was not yet dead. Our squad, 7 men from different corners of the world, was ordered to secure a monastery high in the Austrian Alps. Intelligence suggested it was being used to hide stolen Nazi treasure. We were told to search it, secure anything of value, and wait for further orders. The climb was brutal. The air was thin, the snow deep. By the time we reached the massive wooden gates, our breath steamed in the frozen air like smoke from dying fires. The monastery stood like a shadow against the mountains, walls black with age, windows narrow and unwelcoming. There was no sound but the wind. When Sergeant Doyle banged on the gate, it swung open on its own. Inside, the monks were waiting. Dozens of them knelt in neat rows in the courtyard. They weren't moving, not swaying in the wind, not even blinking. Their eyes were open, glazed over, fixed on some distant point in the sky. I thought they were dead, but when Corporal Heller reached out to touch one, the monk's chest rose, barely. He was breathing. "Why don't they talk?" Heller whispered. No one had an answer. We searched the monastery. It was immaculate. Beds made, floors swept, candles still burning in the chapel. But there was no food in the kitchens, no fresh footprints in the snow except our own. At night, it started. We were sleeping in one of the side chambers when I heard it, low, rhythmic chanting. I thought maybe one of the monks had finally spoken. But when I peeked into the courtyard, they were still kneeling, motionless, their mouths closed. The chanting was coming from somewhere deeper in the monastery. Sergeant Doyle led us toward the sound. We descended a narrow stone staircase into the crypt, rows of ancient tombs and heavy air, thick with incense. The chanting grew louder, echoing off the stone. But when we turned the corner, the room was empty. Just a single candle, burning in front of a carved stone door. And that's when Private Lee saw it. Fresh scratches in the stone, symbols none of us recognized, some still damp with red. Blood. Lee whispered. We got out of there fast. But that night, Heller didn't sleep. He just sat in the corner, carving the same symbols into his rifle stock, muttering words none of us understood. By morning, he was gone. We searched every room, every hallway, every inch of the courtyard. No tracks in the snow, no signs of struggle. He had simply vanished. The second night, the chanting came again. This time, I swear I saw movement among the monks. Not much, just a tilt of the head here, the flick of an eye there, like they were listening. Private Lee began to speak in a language none of us knew. At first it was a whisper, then louder, more confident. His voice didn't even sound like him anymore. We restrained him, but in the morning, the ropes were cut and he was gone too. On the third night, Doyle ordered us to barricade ourselves in. But when the chanting began again, the candles in the room blew out all at once. I don't know how long it was pitch black minutes hours. But when the light returned, Doyle was standing, facing the door, eyes wide open. The symbols were carved into his skin now, deep, bleeding. I have to go, he said, voice flat. And before we could stop him, he walked out into the snow barefoot, disappearing into the dark. That was when I decided to leave. I didn't care about orders or treasure or the war anymore. I just wanted out. I grabbed my pack, my rifle, and slipped out through the gate. The trail down the mountain was steep but familiar. We declimbed it just 3 days ago. I moved fast, heart pounding. The wind howled in my ears. But when I finally reached the base of the path, I froze. I was standing in front of the monastery gates. I turned around, ran back down. Hours later, I ended up there again. No matter which path I took, it always led back to the gates. And this time, the monks were standing. They were closer now, filling the courtyard, their heads all turned toward me. The chanting was deafening. I dropped my rifle and screamed for them to stop. But then one of them, an old man with eyes like wet glass, reached out and took my hand. The last thing I remember before the darkness took me was him smiling. Some say the war ended that year. For me, it never did. because I am still here, kneeling in the snow, eyes open, waiting.